Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the We'll Fix It channel. This is you're a team of the We'll Fix It team, by the way. And what I have here is a truck that the windshield wipers were not functioning. And in a rundown, I'll tell you what I found on it. This motor was bad. I realized that after I kind of did some messing around here. And I'll give you an idea of what I did. Make sure everything's hooked up over there on my thing with my power probe. What you've got here is your wiper motor over here under this wiper cowl. And you've got a series of wires that are plugged into it. And I'll make this as quick as I can. You'll have a positive on this wire right here. You'll have a positive on this wire and a ground on that. And then I think it's a ground on this one right here too as well. Anyways, if I remember right, it's been a minute. I was messing around. Let's see here, let me turn the switch on. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna give you the run down here. Yeah, so the switch is on. I had a customer that was walked up right when I was doing this, and we've got a ground there, a positive here. That's what you want. And the next wire right here will be a ground right there, and then you should have a positive right here. And then these series of wires that you see going to this plug in here are related to the speed, like, you know, whether or not it's going to be a momentary or high or low. And it also works with the Hall effect sensor that's built in this here. And so you can actually reach to some of these wires and you can ground. If you put your power probe on this here and you see a positive, you can throw a ground to it, like the yellow and orange wire on this 2003 model F250. That's like high. So anyway, so this thing's had a bad motor that burnt up the switch that controls that. And let me explain how this works. I'll make it fast, as I always do for these videos, because everybody's trying to work hard and make a dollar. This one black wire right here is what happened. You're grounding, you're throwing a ground. Whenever you select between your speeds, you're actually selecting on the switch itself. And I'll do a quick little look at on all data to show you that. But when you start, there's like a rotary switch inside of there, and you're just throwing a ground to a certain select series of wires. So to check to see if your motor's working and got power to it, first thing we've seen it has power, but we want to make sure we're getting our grounds. And I'll flip this up enough where it can hopefully sit up in place there. But this black wire is a ground. You've got to have that, which we have here. You can see that and if you hit your positive button, you'll see that it shorts the tool, so you know that's a ground. And then as we move through a series of these wires, right, this one here was high. If I can I'm sorry I'm doing this with one hand. I'm trying to make it fast. But this yellow and orange wire that we have right here. Well, okay, we almost had it. All right, get on this thing. It's hard to do, but anyways, that's high. So if you go to these series of wires, trying to hold this thing into place is cumbersome. It's easy when I have both hands. Let's see here. All right, you can see, maybe you can see the motor turn. So I'll throw the ground. See that? So you can actually check through this harness. There's a series of wires like that. Some of them are related to the turn signals, but you'll know if you're using this probe, you can just probe each one of these wires and you'll see which ones are which. But I was able to do that and notice that every time I got on these wires, it would select through the speeds, and that told me that I have a connection going through here. There is no wiper module. It's actually built into the motor itself under the hood here. So just anybody that tells you there's a windshield wiper control module, there's not. You do have a fuse, and on this fuse panel, it's this number 15 right here. If you look, I'll give you a view back, but that's that number 15 amp fuse right here. I believe it's something 33, fuse 33. That is the windshield wiper fuse itself. And then you look on all that and you'll see where you'll have this one right here is part of it where it gets key on power. It might be this one, I have to look again, but it's one of those two. It's right here. If that's good, you're good. And we had power, like I said, you seen where I had power, and we had a ground on our feed wires that feed power to it. And the rest of those were all just reference. Let me show you on all data real quick what that looks like. Okay, rolling through the menu right here, wipers and washers. Wiper washer system, and we'll do this right here. Maybe this will get us where we need to be at. Diagram, connector views. It gives you a pin out right here. You can screenshot that if you want to. This is the back of the wiper switch, so I'll look at that so you can screenshot that if you need to. That gives you a color scheme to go by. Okay, all right. Okay, now let me go back to the other menu here so I can show you the rest of it here. Windshield wiper motor right here. Of course, it wants to be slow and not work. That's fine. We can do this. I'm gonna have to get my computer to load. Okay, now it's working. And here's the fuse selection. This is the under dash fuse right here, where I showed you the one big fuse, which is a big 30 amp, and they list that one as a it's a 106, and then the other one's a 33, right there. That's the smaller 15 amp fuse, and then when you can see the modules built into, they actually represent this whole square block as the electrical motor. And there's the module that receives the ground from the switch. There's the main ground that I showed you that was going at the back of the wiper switch right here. That actually grounds to the chassis. And it shows that ground to be behind left side of dash. And as long as it's grounded somewhere, you're good. So if you've lost that ground, you can just ground it to the chassis, you're good, because it goes through this series of switches right here. And this is our yellow and an orange wire. I focused on that one because that was the easiest one to get to. But each one of those wires, and I'll try to zoom in enough to where you can see the color scheme of that. See that right there? So that'll help you guys when you're trying to figure out which one is which, and it shows you high, medium, and low. That's what those are, or intermittent, you know? And this is the switch right here. This block that I've got my thing over here is the actual switch that's on the steering column. That's what's representing it right there. And you can see that just so we can get a screenshot of that if you need it. But those will give you your speeds. And it goes to that microprocessor that's built into the wiper motor, as well as the little small micro relays that are in that to do that. But I was able to throw a ground on each one of these wires right here and make the motor work. I was like, okay, good. So that told me the switch was burned up. So what I ended up doing was, real quickly, is I put the old motor back on it, and then I put the new switch on it, and I realized what happened really quickly, because somebody evidently was trying something there, and because it blew the fuse that went to that motor was seized up. And I think that somebody kept putting bigger fuses in it until it damaged the wiper switch that we see in this illustration down here. So I'm going to have to put the new motor on it and the new wiper switch. And I think, as you can see, it works now. So that's a little bit of a rundown of how that works and how I diagnose the problem. Because more than likely, it's most of the time in the vehicle, it's just the wiper motor that's bad, because it's in the elements. But that's a quick rundown of how that works. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in.